Let's get it. Welcome to another segment of Beam Me Up, Scotty. We got a special guest with us today. We got my man Dre. How you feeling?
Good. You?
I'm all right. Can't complain. Can't complain. I see you walk through the door while we was about to set up the interview. You know, I had no choice but to let you hop you on. Okay, yeah. You know, so we're gonna have you on my side. We're gonna ask King Konye a few questions. You feel what I'm saying? But King Konye, we got another special guest. How you feeling?
I'm feeling honored to be here, my brother. It's King Konye. What's up, 607?
Right, that's what I like to
I
hear.
have a
Right.
question. How'd you get the name King Konye?
That is a very good question, and I'm actually hyped that you asked. So ready? I'm a music kid, right? I grew up playing instruments, playing guitar, and actually playing, some of y'all might know this instrument, a trombone. It has like a little slide thingy. And I was in my jazz band at my high school, and my teacher said, hey, we're going to have you do a improvised solo. Now, he knew I love music, and I love the creation of music. So I just, I'd improvise, and jazz band was the time that we'd do that. And one day he randomly called me King Konye. Konye is my last name, and he just added King on top of it. And he said, I like that. So he put it in the concert program. Now, I said it was high school. It was actually middle school, but later in high school, I started rapping and recording songs just for SoundCloud, and one of my friends brought me a copy of the program. They said, bro, remember this? That should be your rap name. And I actually changed that to my SoundCloud at the time, and eventually, that stuck, and I started releasing music under it, and I actually like it, because the way I see it is that everybody is a king and a queen, but you got to kind of find it within yourself. That's also why I got my family's name. I'm like, I'm a descendant of my parents who, my dad, I think of him as a king because I'm honored, to have him as my dad. So, I'm king, and everyone who's listening, you a king or a queen too?
And that's one thing I wanted to say. Even your last name itself, Konye being your last name, that's a unique last name. It sounds like it's, like a dynasty last name itself. Did you ever ask your parents what it means? Any research behind it, or is it just like a family name? Was it just passed down?
It's crazy that you say that too, because it actually was. Now, I don't want to butcher this, and I don't want to butcher this on record, so I want to make sure I get my facts straight, but I believe Konye had to do something with my dad's family actually they were a very honorable family actually in Nigeria. He was born and raised in Nigeria, but their name was Konye. Now, he changed his last name to Konye, which actually means fish.
Fish.
So,
okay. All right.
But,
wrong with that Kingfish, for real.
Yeah,
King of the sea.
I guess that's what it is.
Use it like that, for real.
What made you start, becoming a rapper?
So, for me, when I was in elementary school, I got a guitar, and I just like to write songs to sing about whatever was happening in my day. And sometimes I'd sing about a dream that I had or a person that I met in class. I just saw as a freedom of expression for myself. But as I started to get a little bit older, me and my brother were actually really into sports.
Okay.
And our mom would support the crap out of us doing sports, but we were kind of going through a little bit of a struggle when,
Right.
in comparison to everyone else on the team. So we'd actually write songs to cheer her up because, she was our rock, so we tried to hype her up however we could. And we just loved the idea of writing songs to cheer each other up. And our friends started saying, yo, you should start putting these songs out. Now, when we first started, we didn't care if anyone was going to hear it. We were just doing it literally as a family thing. But when we finally started using those songs to lift our community up and stuff like that, people received it, and we figured, hey, well, why don't we just try to use it to help more people? And
Right.
It's still freedom of expression, but it's expression in a way where we can try to make someone feel just a little bit better, give them a little bit of hope.
That's true. So where you from?
So it's around the Albany area. It's a
Okay.
place called Clifton Park.
Clifton Park.
It's like a small town.
Okay. And I was trying to figure out, because I see you have a lot of Albany fan base, and then you came out here for school, and now you got a lot of Hartwick fan base. I ran into a few people from Albany who said they know you and know of what you do, and a few people out here definitely know what you do. So I just wanted to go on the back and forth side of things. So from making music out there, did you start in Clifton Park?
So I did start in Clifton Park.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the place where we were first ever received. My brother, it was this album called No Water Over Blood. It was his album, but I had 5 songs with him on there because we're brothers. We always did this stuff together. Right. And people liked the dynamic of the two of us together. So locally, they started to share it. And we also went to this really big high school, so they shared it to other surrounding schools. So the music started hitting Ballston Spa and Saratoga and Burnt Hills, the areas around Albany. So Albany was where we started doing shows and everything.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest places around. Upstate New York. So you have to hit that as a hot point for real. I can't lie.
I also have a question. Did you ever doubt yourself?
That's a beautiful question. So, here's what I believe doubt is. I believe that doubt is when we have a worry about something that we're going to do. I think the idea of doubt is like I've worried at times, but I've never doubted because at the end of the day, I know whatever I'm worrying about, I can fix it. If you're still in the game, you got time to win it. That's how I look at it.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
What kind of style or genre of music would you say you make? Because like when I first came a hold of you, I couldn't really describe the kind of music you make. You know what I mean? You definitely have. There's definitely a name and there's definitely a genre for it, but I couldn't myself. So what would you describe your kind of music?
So ready? I personally would call it hopeful rap.
Hopeful rap.
Some people call it pop rap, or they say emo rap because it's emotional, but emo rap usually has a sad context to it. It does fit in, happy, sad, all of that, but I'd personally call it hopeful because it's really, that's what it's about.
I mean, yeah, okay. And who do you listen to for some of that, influence? Give me some of your top 5 rappers,
Top
Give
one,
me some influences.
Rod Wave.
Rod Wave, okay.
I love Rod Wave. His music feels like healing.
W.
Okay.
And his it's conversation. Like, I love Roddy Ricch because of
Roddy Ricch.
the way he talks about where he's from. Everything he says is very honest.
Okay.
And, also, I love his flows. Now, I really liked A Boogie. I haven't listened to him as much nowadays,
Right.
but I really loved A Boogie because he was one of the first people who did the melodic rap and made it tough. He made it very, assertive and confident. And Juice WRLD. Now, Juice WRLD, I actually originally was hearing his music and I was like, oh, it's really sad. So it took me a little bit before I really started understanding what was happening. I started hearing, who the person was that was really talking, and I connected to him as the person that I was hearing. And I think that was 4 right now, right?
Yeah.
Now, number 5.
You said Roddy Ricch, A Boogie,
Rod Wave.
Juice WRLD.
Juice WRLD. Okay, in the 5th one, I'm actually happy that there's another spot because I'm going to say Alex Jean. He's a
I've never heard
Christian
of him.
rapper.
Okay.
This man is melodic rap. He is amazing.
I'm starting to hear a lot of the Christian rap for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well,
Right.
absolutely, man. His flow and everything his cadence is just it's very special.
Yeah.
I think if you guys look up Alex Jean if you're listening to this right now, you will not be sorry.
Yeah, I see. You like to pick up on a lot of rappers who really portray a certain theme to themselves and things like that. But for you in your videos, you also portray. I feel like in every song and music video, you portray a certain theme to what you rap about. Is there something around that? You know what I mean? Is there something for every video that you really aspire to shoot around or go directly for each of your videos? Because it's really themed. For instance, the last video you shot, I see trees getting cut down and things like that, and it sounded like you were really going direct for something. You know what I mean? And you really kind of switched up the sound. So tell me a little bit about.
I absolutely do. So I'm a very visual person when I'm listening to music. Some songs I won't even listen to. I won't watch the music video if I already have a certain picture in my head. So when it comes to my music videos, I don't like to do the whole story element of start to finish because I feel like then you have to, be engaged in a certain type of way and it's telling the story for you. I just like to have a concept. I like to take the concept and rap with that. Right. And a lot of my concepts, because I'm a man of faith, bro, a lot of my concepts are Bible based. Right. So that song, Pruning Season, where I have trees getting cut, it was about a verse in the Bible, actually, where Jesus says, he says, you're like branches, and I'm the vine, and God is like the gardener. He said, a branch can't produce fruit if it's severed from the vine, and being fruitful is basically being, essentially helpful to the world around you. 100%. And I'm basically being connected to the source of life actually makes your stuff lively. It makes your stuff, often joyful. And even though the song itself wasn't me, jumping up and down, smiling, but in that specific song, I'm speaking on the truth of the fact that, for me, some of the things I had to cut out were, certain people from my life. And he says it's like cutting branches. Even the branches that do produce fruit, he prunes them. And when you're pruning a branch, you're actually breaking certain parts of it in order to improve its growth structure. So for me in my personal life, to improve my growth structure, I realized what are the things that I'm leaving behind. I also, I just turned 25. I'm like, bro, there's some things I messed with I can't be messing with.
It's about the quality of life, yes.
I have
what
a
do you
question.
need? For sure.
What do you have an artist that inspires you?
The artist that inspires me the most. Oh, that's a.
So would that go hand in hand with your top 5, honestly? Because
Yes.
I'll go back to your music video in a second, but the artists that you were saying with your top 5, they kind of sound like, I don't want to say that they're new rappers, but they kind of sound like they came up within the last 6-7 years. Have you been rapping before 6 or 7 years? Like,
So
how long have you been rapping?
Well, 7 years since I've been, well, so I've been writing rap music since, that's 9 years. But I've been like actually rapping, pursuing it, and doing it honestly professionally for the last 7 years. But those rappers are newer rappers because I really like the melodic rap.
Right, yeah,
I grew up
100%.
listening to rock
There's
music
nothing
a
wrong
lot.
with that, and I get it. These artists are definitely, I could get some of them in my top 5 for real. But I was just saying, for instance, I could imagine you maybe rapping from 10, 11 on, or maybe even older, like 13, really rapping, and then you're like, yo, Juice WRLD is one of my top 5 inspirations. It's like, he's a newer artist, so who really inspired you back then? So that's really why I wanted to know, like, if you was rapping, you know.
You know, the first rapper that inspired me to actually get into rap when me and my brother were hyping up my mom, it was Meek Mill.
Okay.
It was Meek Mill talked about dream chasing. We were really into sports, and my brother. So I actually grew up in a predominantly white area,
Okay.
and people used to actually, grill me and ostracize me because I was black. But that's almost expected when you grow up in that circumstance. And whenever they'd actually say that, they'd assume that I liked rap music, or anytime they saw something that reminded them of a black stereotype, they'd kind of trying to point it out at me. So I started to actually develop a little bit of like a fear of some of those things. So I loved rap
100%.
music, and my dad also didn't like it. So he's a classical professor. He didn't like rap music, so he kind of tried to push us away. But whenever I'd hear like certain songs, like "The Show Goes On" by Lupe Fiasco,
Yeah, that's always a banger.
My brother started playing "Dear Mama" and "Changes" by Tupac, and like it was hard for me to even deny the fact that I'm like, I love this. I love the storytelling element and the autobiographical nature of rap. Like you're hearing straight from a human being. So yeah.
I get that. And so was it challenging? Like, I mean, I know you wasn't directly in Albany. Clifton Park might have been predominantly white, branching off into Albany, getting the rap scene, your shows and things like that. But then you coming out to college in Hartwick. Hartwick, I can say, is predominantly a white area. You know what I mean? 2 colleges and, real rural. So what was the challenges, or were there no challenges from coming from that side to Oneonta, where there's a whole bunch of people where they say, people who that they say that you were, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And pushing your music, you know what I mean? Was it helpful? You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about the people who hate it, and this is helpful to me. This is a better environment to me. Or was it like still challenging? Like, I came from that side, and this side is just as hard. Doesn't matter what what they said, things like that. So was there a challenge to that, or was it much easier coming out to college?
So before I went to Hartwick, for 1 year I went to SUNY Potsdam.
Okay. Oh,
My music was not received at SUNY Potsdam.
Oh.
It was not. My personality was a culture shock to a lot of the people that I was around. I mean, my homies like Kelvin, Benji, like I was rapping with them, but they were from the Bronx, bro. They actually said a lot of my friends think you're weird, and I was like, at the end of the day, I'd hear that and I think it's silly because I mean you kind of know me, so I can't be anything but myself.
Right,
Like,
100%.
really,
Yeah,
I
right.
can't, bro. Like I just
Right.
I'm Konye. That's how I am. But my music wasn't fully received. Now people, towards the end, like after a little bit of time, I noticed they started actually receiving the fact that there's truth to what I said. They started actually receiving the stories in my music. But it was really after I transferred to Hartwick where immediately, because people were from these areas, like the first day I went to Hartwick College, 2 people told me in different classes, hey, one of them said, my cousin like listens to your music, and they told the class, hey, him and his brother are famous in my hometown. They're like from Saratoga. And someone else said, hey, are you King Konye? I know you from Albany. And I said, yeah, like I was received, and people already like kind of spread my name like that.
Right.
So people had an open ear, and sometimes it takes people to like, people have to almost have like some social level of knowing, hey, it's okay to like this even though it's different, to be able to receive it. And I don't know, there could be a million reasons I could say, but that's part of the reason I think it was received. And it did help that part of the story that I was sharing was what some of these other people went through. There was one person at Hartwick, his name was Zeke, and he was also, he was a brother just like us. And he said he grew up in a predominantly white area, and he said when he listens to my music, he said, you're not afraid, you're not trying to act like what they wanted you to be. He said, you're just how you are. And he said that really hits me, and he got emotional at that moment. And I said, bro, I know exactly what you mean, because it's hard. It's almost like you're you feel like you don't fit in anywhere, to be honest. It's crazy.
100%. And that's the thing. Even with like the music you're making now, it's like it gives the Juice World feel. Like if Juice World made that music back in the day, people would be like, "Yo, you're kind of weird." You know what I mean? And all the rappers who's coming up with the not even the mumble rap style, just like the emo rap, or kind of like the sad rap. People call it the sad, something like that. That kind of style is kind of taking over, whether you black or white. So now it's like, it's kind of cool. I mean, got the sad rap. So, haters is gonna become the lovers. You know what I mean? So that's tricky with stuff like that. But I'm glad that you was able to come here.
I actually think it's funny because like when it comes to hate on the internet, I don't know, you probably see my Instagram profile every now and then. People say things. I think it's silly because especially when it comes to dropping like a joyful song, there's some emotions that I think are like foreign to some people, especially like excessive amounts of joy. I think that's not common. It's also not common for males to actually feel joyful because it feels like, it makes people feel a certain type of way. So people will ostracize it and hate it. But some of the people, and this has happened multiple times, who will comment a hate comment, they then go and check out my page and they click follow. And they'll even drop another hate comment on my page, but they follow to see what happens next, because sometimes it touches something in our heart where it's so different, but it reminds us a little bit of ourselves, maybe sometimes of an insecurity. And after a while, they'll grow to be able to either understand it, or for some people, it's just, not for them. And that's,
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, you got a strong social media presence for real. So how do you decide what to post? How do you decide what to give your fans? How do what do you decide what goes to them? You know what I mean, directly.
I've done a lot of interviews, and I love that question. Nobody's ever asked me that. Now, I actually am very particular about my Instagram. There was about a year when I actually reached about 8,400 or something like that. I went a long time without posting and actually hurt a lot of my engagement. But what happened is I had to start making a choice. Like my social media is a platform. This is people hearing from King Konye. This is the time I get to actually share what I want to share with them. I think, what do I want to say? When I'm making a post, I think, what do I want to say? Even when it's like a day where I'm just hanging out with my family, I'm like, hey, like I'm with my family. I'm like, if that's what I want to tell them, I usually like to attach a message at the bottom of the post. Right. And I'll write like, Konye Kingdom for whoever's like, listening that actually, is really here for King Konye. Like, I want you to know this. Like, I don't know if you saw, I got an article in the newspaper here in the Daily Star about being a rapper that does positive rap. And the interview was, me talking about how much of, an influence I also enjoyed from my dad, who talked about, be positive in your music. And he still don't think my music is positive. I love him to death, but I think that's funny.
How positive does it have to be?
So it was about like being positive in your music and stuff like that. And when I posted it, I personally am a shy dude, so I didn't want to post it. I was in the newspaper on Instagram. I didn't want to tell people. I don't want to show pictures of myself. I'm like, all this. I don't want to show myself on stage, bro. I get nervous in crowds of people. Right. So me stand on stage. But when it comes down to it, I'm like, hey, like, I have a lot to say. I said in that specific post with the newspaper, like, hey, I do something that's very different and sometimes isn't even received, but people are willing to have conversation about it and tell other people, because it's okay to be yourself and be like, the human being that you are. We're human beings. The differences are literally so important. Nobody is exactly the same. And people who are exactly the same as other people are lying to themselves. And we live in a world where everyone's trying to fit a certain mold to be able to fit work. You have to be in a certain face. You have to like almost put on a certain face to fit certain, friends. We're always fitting into certain spots. But when are you actually being? So that's how I like to be, but I choose my post specifically for whatever message I can say at that moment. There's never anything that I just put up just because I thought this would be dope. Like,
before you start rapping, did you think about like doing anything else like before rapping?
I wanted to be so bad. I'm so happy I didn't continue with this. I wanted to be a professional skateboarder so bad. I loved skateboarding, but for me, there was actually a day where I was actually sitting in church, and they had on screen like a dude who was a professional skateboarder talking about how he bring his community together. And at that moment, I realized, I said, I do this and I like to do it, but the thing that I use to actually help people is music. And that was 2017. That was the year that I actually started rapping professionally, and me and my brother started putting out music and performing.
That was a big year. That was a big year. 2017 was a big year.
Let's talk about your last video that you made, Planted.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Definitely. I'm trying to figure out.
8K views.
Yeah, that was beautiful. AK, he know the
That's my
stats.
most
He was actually
music
watching a
video.
little earlier. Yeah, let's talk
That
about
was a
that.
good song.
How'd you come about that? Yeah, let's talk about it.
So,
Go ahead.
funny story. When I was at Hartwick, I had an idea. I said, I actually want to move to the city of Oneonta after I graduate, which was a hard decision at first because I had this big plan on going to LA. I just performed in LA and had like this weekend of my dreams. But I said, you know what, I'm actually going to stay here. And my friends hated the idea. They actually really hated the idea. I said, nah. I said, there's something valuable in like a small city and
Yeah,
actually being able
that's
to
true.
like reach people. And they said, I don't know. So I made the song about staying planted where God placed you, because there's actually a part in the Bible where God says wherever He placed you, He puts you by like a riverside, meaning that you'll bear fruit every single season, meaning even when you're going through the dark days or you're going through the good, whether you're going through the good days or going through the bad days, you're still like, producing. And I said, you know what? At the end of the day, I've always been good. I've always been okay, no matter how dark things get. So even if it's like you're buried and swallowed by soil at the moment, it's cold, you feel like you're getting rained on, like you're just about to start growing, because the seed has to get buried before it grows. So.
100%. And that's,
So, you go.
oh no, that's what I was gonna say, and that's where it comes with themes. Like the theme on that one, that's where I really thought about the theme, how theme based you really put towards your work. You know what I mean? Every video, and that one definitely was like, oh nah, he really meant something for real. And then the newest one you dropped actually, when you cut the trees down, that's was I said, yeah, he's trying to symbolize something. How did you get someone to chop so many trees down while you shooting the music video? First off,
Bro, when you're in the right place at the right time, bro.
Yeah.
So I made that song and I was so hyped, and I was thinking, I was like, I think someone at one point throughout the week mentioned to me something about they needed trees cut down in their backyard, and I was like, trees getting cut. I was like, that's kind of like the song that I made, this week or whatever. Now, on a random day, I'm actually out just filming a video, and I end up going to the gym. One of my homies at the gym starts telling me about like a friend that he has that cuts down trees. I said, no way. I said, so can I hit up your homie? Now, shout out Hardin Williams.
Oh.
Actually, he's the one who cut down the trees for the video for pruning season. Brother did an amazing job.
yeah,
He was
those
like,
was
y'all ready?
80-foot trees, 100-foot trees, like they was
The
forest
way that
trees, and
you
I
were-
said, yo, they was dropping behind you. You ain't feel no wind, no gust behind you. Was there for real?
Bro, first of all, you feel the weight in the power of a tree. They say if a tree falls, nobody around you here. I feel like if you
please, I
you
have to say
you don't
my
have to be
point,
very
yeah.
close to know a tree fell. But I'm filming the video, and he's like, the tree's gonna fall that way. And then Dylan, he's the videographer. Dylan Avery is phenomenal, by the way. And he said, I'm gonna frame it up, and we kind of had to hope for the best, because you don't know where the tree is gonna land when it falls. But somehow Dylan captured all the shots perfectly, and like you just get the branches falling behind me. Hardin's cutting them down. He's just hearing us play the song, and like it was fun, bro. My priority when I'm filming videos and on stage is fun. People
Right.
call certain things like, they'll be like, "Ooh, there's something about that I just liked with your performance." It is enjoyment, bro. Whatever you do ever in life, if you enjoy it, it is contagious, because even if you're making a sad song, if you enjoy what you're singing, people feel your enjoyment. We're human beings, and we actually feel each other's emotion. So in Planted, that was joy. That was a more direct example. But even in pruning season, at that moment, we were just enjoying shooting a video. So Dylan had fun with it, and somehow those things just come through the camera.
How'd you get a part of filming with Dylan? Dylan, I mean, you talk about Dylan, like, he's, good. Is it like hand in hand? You and him hand in hand?
It's so
Is there
funny, bro.
something-
So
it's like you have like a vision together, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that.
So Otsego Media, once they took me on, my first day being in Otsego Media's office, Dylan walks over and he sees me, because they already did the story, with me and with you
Yeah.
from like January 2023. And he
yeah.
said, oh, I know you do music. He said, hey, I've been looking for people to do music with. And he daps me up. This is the first time I'm like meeting Dylan. Now, the words "do music" was so cool to me, because I think of music as something that's, a conversation, and I could tell he was kind of giving off that vibe. Then he sits down like in the office at his computer editing, and he tells me he makes music too. We start talking about that. He says, hey, I want to shoot a music video for you. And I'm like, well, I would never complain about
Yes,
that.
yep.
Now, this dude is very talented. We actually, Planted was shot in one day. or I guess there was one second day, pruning season was shot in 30 minutes, and we just did a music video 3 days ago. It was 21 minutes. You give this dude half an hour to an hour, he will make something very,
Yeah,
very
fire.
magical.
Yeah, cool, because the quality on those are fire. Even not even just quality, the scene captures everything.
Mhm.
Transitions was fire on it.
It's because he,
Then
it's 'cause
30,
he enjoys
21.
it.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. And Artigo Media, what's that? Tell me a little bit about that. How'd you get in Artigo Media?
So you know the City of the Hills Festival, right?
Right.
So in 2022, I ended up doing the City of the Hills Festival, performing there, and I met Alyssa because Otsego Media was covering the event. She said, "Hey, I'm Alyssa. We make music videos." And then she just shakes my hand, and like I'm like holding a guitar, like showing up, almost late for the performance. Not late because I'm not late to performances, but I was almost late. And like my brother puts the number in my phone for me, and they end up capturing the City of the Hills. 2 weeks later, they just filmed us at Foothills performing, and she said, "Hey, we really like what you said about keeping it in the family with all of your, your homies coming on stage with you. Because I don't just do collaborations. Like, yes, some of it is business, but I don't just do, collaborations with anyone, be performing on stage with anyone. For me, it's like there's actually a relational aspect. I like to do business relationally because if we can actually partner with each other, then we can partner for the vision." So she said, "Oh, I like what you said," and that's kind of how we rock at Otsego Media. She said, "I actually just had 2 filmers move away. You and your homies were filming each other. Would you guys like to be a part of Otsego Media?" And I'm like trying to not to flip out while I'm on the phone call. I say, yes, I would love to do that. No, bro, this is the job of a... I literally go out, film videos, meet people, film with Dylan at random points. I get to film my own stuff when it comes to even shows, having cameras set up. Like it's synergetic to my life,
Right.
and I love Otsego Media because the family aspect is very real. They care about relationships with people,
Yeah, definitely. Cause that's, you had a question?
Yeah. So, the song Planted, did you feel like somebody was inspiring you at that time when you were singing it?
At that moment, not really, actually. So, that day that I made the song, I walked into the studio at Hartwick. It was over the summertime. And even though I was feeling sad about the conversation I had with my friend, where he said, "Yo, it's such a bad idea to move to Oneonta," and he was discouraging me, this woman who was actually cleaning the studio, she said, "Hey, I saw you in like the magazine that we have here, and I was so proud." And we had a conversation, and it just filled me with so much hope and joy that I put on a beat that someone made for me custom. Like, I wasn't even expecting to record on that beat that day, but I just clicked. Some songs you just make easily. I just clicked record, and I just went, whoa, 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 whoa. I just, in 2 hours or so, the song was recorded and finished. I never had to do anything else to it. I just was feeling it. And, I like capturing the feelings.
Okay.
8K views.
8K views, yeah, you did your thing for
appreciate
real.
your hype,
Word, because
man.
that's
I'm proud.
fire. Because you definitely got to present Oneonta, and that's one thing I was going to say. Within the
Just-
presence of Oneonta, you got like you do a lot of shows out here. You're involved with the council. You know what I mean. You're involved with the governed areas around here. So how'd you get even into that position of stepping into Oneonta and being a good face and
So this is another. There's some things where I feel like, man, I really feel like it's grace because there's conversations I've had with people where I don't get to pick and choose the timing that I meet them, or the fact that maybe Otsego Media met me at a performance and they actually enjoyed like that one specific thing that I said on stage. Like, there's little moments that just seem to fall into place sometimes, but a lot of them fall into place because people recognize a purpose in what's being done. They're like, not only is he just performing and recording and having a good time, but listen to the morals and the values that he talks about. One of the biggest values that I talk about, which I think is helpful for not only this community, but literally for the world, is I like to talk about self-control being an aspect of freedom in my songs. I think right now we live in a culture where people talk about freedom as recklessness. But when you are reckless and you just live by every single desire you have, then you're essentially just a slave to your own body. And sometimes whatever we want is, in a moment. You could spend money on a bag of chips when instead of getting 10 bags of chips at the end of the week, you could have used that same exact money to, put even to like a promotion poster for a performance that you have. Like, self-control is important, but I think a lot of people see certain values that my music comes with, and whether they even agree with them or not, they're like, "Hey, I like that you're like a real person live. Like, you really are yourself, for better or for worse.
So, have you ever thought of stop doing videos from like hate comments and stuff?
So, what is really funny is when I get hate comments, sometimes me and my girl will actually watch them and like laugh about them because some people are really funny with them. They'll like meme the comments and they'll make jokes about the songs. I think honestly it's pretty funny, but when it comes down to hate comments, it's just a reflection of how someone feels when they're watching a piece of my content. I do acknowledge that it's actually not common to just be jumping with joy all the time. So if you hear a song where someone's jumping with joy, you may be like, this is weird. So their responses, I look at them disconnected from the fact that it's, being said to me. Hate comments never bothered me. Also, one more thing is that on Twitter, one of my most helpful things for me has been reposts when people are hating or trying to, say whatever. At the end of the day, it's like, it's engagement, and I'd rather have people see me and feel something than to just be another face that they pass by and never think anything of it,
No, go ahead.
I also have another question. Do you have like a famous quote that you want to say out?
Ooh. Yes, as of a few days ago, yes. You can choose kindness, but you cannot choose to be kind. And the reason why I say that is because being a kind person is a reflection of who you are. If you have bitterness in your heart, you can choose to use kindness in a certain situation. And if you continue to choose to use kindness, then you'll ultimately become a kind person. However, you can't choose to be kind. Being kind is a reflection of an openness that you have in your heart.
I hear that. That's fire. I like that.
I appreciate that.
So as far that's what's fire. As far as the lovers and the people who support you and appreciate you, you know what I mean. You came up with your own group. You know what I mean. Konye Kingdom. You know what I mean. Just for your supporters and things like that. So how did that come about? What did that come? Did you just feel like you needed to 100% have a group to support everyone who's supporting you? How did that come about? The Konye Kingdom.
The way I see it, man, is me and my followers, we're a team, bro. Because it's like there's a movement that I'm working towards. I'm trying to bring hope to the world through my music. Even in the sad songs, bro. It's not just... Hope isn't about everything being pretty. But it's about actually, sometimes when you're in the dark times, you see the light. That is hope to me. And anyone who actually is with this vision or receives the music that I have, I'm like, we're a team. And our team is this kingdom. It's the Konye Kingdom, man. And it's like, I ain't even the king of this kingdom, bro. I'm just someone who's running this race with y'all is the way I see it.
Okay. Yeah, because I liked how you put it together. Like I said, just like Beyonce, the Beehive, or Justin Bieber, they got the Bieber fever, not Bieber fever. What they call them? The group of Justin Biebers who love them.
Believers.
Yeah, Believers. Yeah. That's comedy. Yeah, so I see like you really, that's something I feel like for people who have fans who are really supporting them 100%. Like not just, I love your music. I mean, like really supporting everything you do, like personal life, relationships, business. You know what I mean? People who support you. That's people who follow the group. So when I heard about that, I thought that was like, that was catchy. That was pretty fire that you came up with that kind of scheme.
Konye is my last name also, so it's like family too. If you're part of the Konye Kingdom, you're part of the Konyes,
right,
bro.
Yeah.
Like y'all really with me.
That makes sense in itself. Yeah, that's fire. Okay, I like that word. But you did come through all fly. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. The Track 23 sponsorship. I mean, I seen a little bit about that, and I seen you on Billboard. I seen you all over, honestly, right on the billboards, the posters hanging down, things like that. Just tell me a little bit about that. How did that come about? That's fire.
So this is so crazy. Now, when me and my younger brother would like go shopping for like school or Christmas shopping, like with my mom at Crossgates Mall, my mom would take us to Track 23 because we could afford the stuff there and it was fly, right? I would actually go and shop there to get clothes before I'd like do videos and before I'd actually get on stage, even before I was ever sponsored. And because I wore so much of their clothes, like one day I hit up their Instagram and I was like, hey guys, I said, I wear a lot of your clothes. I said like, I just wanted to show them the content. And of course, they didn't respond. And then 2 years later, this is crazy. It was right before I actually performed at LA. I think I just left like a fire emoji on something that they had. And I got a response and they said, hey, would you actually like to talk on the phone? And I get a DM, and then they end up emailing me, and we talked on the phone. They chopped it up. They said, hey, I like the positivity that you have. Wow. And it's funny because being positive was, I for the longest time, that was something that actually, it felt like it hindered my ability to grow. But they said, I actually like that. Victor's the owner. Shout out him. And he said, man, I really respect that. He said, how would you feel to actually, be a representation for our brand? They gave me a sponsorship. So speaking of, like, right now, these clothes are all track 23. Like, these pants are really dope. The shirt, the jacket, and man, I'm just honored to be able to rep something that I actually grew up really appreciating, because I know anyone who I'm presenting these clothes to, I'm not presenting it to them like, be like, hey, go here just because this place rocks for me or because I rock with them. It's like, nah, like, actually you'll be able to get stuff here, you'll be able to afford stuff. And the fact that they even rock with me, yeah, you said that billboard, this is nuts to me because people still come up to me sometimes in public about this. Yeah, and around their stores nationally, they put up those billboards that said King Konye, recording artist, and it had me in a random shoot that I did with Shot by Nate down in Oneonta when they were promoting like their Christmas stuff. And that was so beautiful because my mom went and took a picture. She said, wow, like this place means something to us. So to see her son up there, she was like, this is crazy. And it was a reminder to me. I was like, you actually don't have to be anyone but yourself. And it sounds so cliche, which is so silly, but it's like, we live in a world where on social media you see everyone else, so it's like, where do I fit in? But fitting in isn't, you don't want to fit in, and you don't have to, and it's very freeing to be able to be respected for not
100%. And that's one thing I wanted to throw in. How was your college experience? You know what I mean? You had these allegations thrown at you about this and that coming into college. How was it? You know what I mean? Even though I know that you had a phase coming out of college, you know what I mean, that represented hard work and things like that. But how was your college experience?
Now, I'm going to first start this out referencing the Bible again. So Jesus says a prophet is without honor in his own city. The people that you are around don't always they're the last ones that want to receive you. It's a hard reality. I don't like that. But when I first got there, people like to hate. They like to, kind of dig at it a little bit. I remember one day I was just sitting in the dining hall. I'm a freshman, bro. Like, and mind you, I'm a shy dude, bro. I don't really I talk, especially with my friends. I'm so outgoing, but usually, I stay to myself until I have something to say. So I'm sitting there, I'm just eating, and some dude behind me, I'm gonna give a PG version of this story. He was playing some of my songs and stuff. He was playing a music video of mine loudly because I was sitting right there. He was playing it for the girls at the table that he was with. He was like a senior or something. I think he was one of the football dudes, and he's just violating and just cutting at me about this music video. And then he goes to my Instagram. He says, wait, let's look at his gram. And he goes post by post and just starts talking smack, bro.
Oh, no.
And I'm sitting there like, and mind you, he was a brother too. So I was like, we all kind of stick together. So I was like, wow. I was like, he was older than me. But when it comes down to it, that was a moment where I had to remember, people, they see you and they also see what you do.
Yeah.
That sometimes, like, I just be in class, I'm doing a group project, I'm like my shy self, and like randomly they just start talking about something musically or something that I released, and like for a second, like, bro, I'm being so honest, like I'd get nervous, bro.
Right.
I'd be like, or people would play my songs out of like their dorm rooms. I'm like, huh? I'm like, yo, like, what's up? Like, that's me. But when it comes down to it, like, there's a side of me that comes out in music specifically because I am being myself. So like when those things would happen, I feel anxiety at that moment, and then I actually like overcome that anxiety in a second because it's like it pulls me out of myself, and that anxiety is actually vulnerability. And I actually dare to say that sometimes anxiety itself is just excitement. It's excitement without comfortability, and you get comfortable with it. So I think Heartwick actually helped me become myself because people put me on the spot.
Right.
I had no choice but to speak up sometimes, and I'm someone who I think I got a lot to say. Like, I like to think about things a lot.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, for sure. For sure.
You go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just wanted to really talk about that college experience. Like I said, did you get what degree did you get? Bachelor's, associates?
So it is bachelor's, and it is what's the word? An ISP, an independent study for music industry. Now, this was really, really helpful because they wanted to start a music business department. And when I first went there, they didn't have a music business department at all, but then they started creating a music business minor. And they saw that I actively worked in the field of the music industry. I was performing, and at that point, I did have the sponsorship. I had signed with Identity Music as my distributor and my publisher. So because my teachers, who were like my mentors, like I literally showed contracts to them before I signed, they ended up like kind of speaking up on, hey, like Konye did this and did that. So they actually, man, God bless Hardwick. They actually helped like spotlight some of the things that I did to show the music industry that, or to show the music business minor that they had in some of the classes that they had, because I was vocal about what I learned from these professors.
Right.
I'm someone who's a student of life, man. We have mentors everywhere. Sometimes someone younger than us could be a mentor. They could even be teaching us about patience.
Right, right.
That's something else. But
100%.
yeah.
You know, we got. How old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm 12.
Okay. See, we got somebody over here. You know, spotlight. You know.
Also, do you have like any least favorite rappers?
Ooh, that's a crazy question. It's, you know, I would say no, but actually the answer is yes. Now, I'm going to use the example Lil Pump right now. And the only reason I'm going to say him, and I'm not going to name drop the other dude, I'm not going to do him like this because he's paved the way a lot, but I don't like music that is destructive. When a personality comes to the music industry and everything that they're posting is showing you reckless behavior that actually sometimes leads people to make decisions that could end their life. I don't like that because I'm someone who's very much a people person. I find that we look up to certain people in certain ways where if a rapper is saying something's okay and that they do it themselves, it feels like more okay to do it. And you know, it's okay to talk about struggles. Juice WRLD talked about his drug addictions to the very end. He talked about how he said, I have not too long left from his, you know, he talked about what his doctors would tell him in some of his more underground songs. And, you know, he unfortunately did pass away. He was talking about real struggle like that. I fully respect that, and I love that, and I think people get to see the truth. However, I cannot respect the Lil Pump era, the Lil Xan thing, and even, you know, I guess he wasn't actively promoting, but just even the name. I don't like this idea of people representing drug culture and hyping it up, because some of these rappers don't do the substances that they, you know, that they talk about. That's not okay.
Yeah.
Do you also have name 5 favorite hobbies that?
I could name 2 hobbies. I don't know if I have too many hobbies, but adventuring. I call it adventuring while me and my homie Love Lagoon will pick a random location. And we'll literally drive there, a place we've never been, to walk around, to remind ourselves that in life, we're free agents. If you always are surrounded by things that you know, then you'll forget that you're exploring. Right. We got to remind ourselves, like, you know, we out here, we have the freedom to discover, right. You know. And another hobby mine is I love meditation. Relaxation is important. It grows my focus, and I'm someone who all the time. So if I can, like, you know,
I feel like that's something that people need to practice up on. I feel like I do too. I was just talking about yoga. It's probably not the same, but I do need to, you know, get my mind right, get my body right, for real. Yeah. A lot of running around.
Yoga's a big one for that.
So, but what's some upcoming projects you got? Whether it's music, you know what I mean, personal life, you know, what you got? What's the next big thing for Konye?
Man, what I'm trying to do is, a lot of the time right now with the music that I have out, I got to tell people how I feel. And I want to put out more music more consistently. I actually have a music video that I just did to a song called Billboard, shot by Dylan Avery. And in these newer songs, I'm focused on telling people what I have to say. Now, before, from how I feel, it's not that that's not what I had to say. It's just, you know, this is how I feel, and now's the time to deliver messages that I feel like I want to deliver. Like even the conversation about kindness or something else, like the power of agreement, I'm going to call it. Like this is something that I've been trying to make a song about actually within the last few days. There's a power to 2 people coming together with something. 2 minds become one. You know, you become a new person when you're around someone and you grow from their ideas. Now, that means I want to do more collaborations. I'm happy with the collaboration I did with NRP, and I don't know if it's a problem that I'm name dropping this already, but I actually have a song with Bammy, who's a local artist, YSS Bammy. He's actually great. I love the song, and I think it brought 2 different sides of both of us into it. And I feel like, you know, more collabs is what I'm trying to do, man, and I'm just trying to speak a little bit more and let people know what I'm thinking. Okay, for real. That's what I like to hear. So, with that being said, any last words that you could give for the people or the community, or, you know, upcoming generation or upcoming artists who want to start rapping? Anything you can say to them? Absolutely. You know. So, if you're watching this, I'm King Konye. I'm a living example that it's important to not fit in. Not that you gotta try to not fit in, but you gotta remind yourself that who you are may feel like something casual or weird to you because you don't see it, but the world actually needs that. Because every time someone sees you being a version of yourself that maybe doesn't even feel socially appropriate, maybe doesn't even feel, the most comfortable because it's not what everyone's used to, when someone sees you being that version of themselves, it gives them permission to be able to take off the mask that they have for the world. And the freedom of taking off the mask brings us back to that childlike feeling of when we're young. We can use our imagination. We can actually remember life is an opportunity. It's not a chore. So if you can be yourself, then bless you. And one last thing about being yourself. Don't ever box yourself in. You can become whoever you want to be. So rather than saying, I am who I am, start telling yourself, who am I, and become that. I love you guys. Shout out the Konye Kingdom.
Yes,
Shout out
sir.
MEB Records.
Yes,
We're
sir.
really out here.
Shout out you, baby. Yes, sir. I'm glad
Shout
to
out
have
Dre.
you. Always. That was a great interview, bro.
Bless
Said
you.
you got a lot on your plate and a lot behind you, a lot of supporters, bro. So it's glad to have you up here. Same with you, Dre.
One more question. This is for both of you.
Got you.
So, do you guys have an inspiration of people, like God and people? I know you do.
I absolutely do.
Like inspiration in God, from God?
Yeah.
Inspiration? Oh, certainly. That's the reason we're here, you know what I mean? The reason we got this podcast going, you know what I mean? The reason you was stuck through that door while we're doing the podcast and you got to, experience this firsthand, you know what I mean? So, for real.
Shout out Michael
Definitely.
Todd for me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Word. But with,
Shout out the
but with that being said, yes, sir. Shout out the cameraman. Shout out everybody. My man Shan behind the cams. Shout out MEB. Shout out King Konye, the Konye Kingdom.
Shout
you know
out
what I
Track
mean?
23,
Shout out
let's
Dre.
go.
Shout out Track 23. And, on another episode of Beat Me Up Scotty, we'll be back. Yes, sir.